everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're finding me for the very first time, please click that like and subscribe button and definitely hit that notification bell so you get all the notifications about when I put up new content here on my channel. So over the Memorial Day weekend, I decided to check out a few movies that were coming out here since we're finally getting movies back a little bit now that the pandemic is slowly coming to an end, hopefully. And one of them was Cruella, the new Disney film starring Emma Stone, based on the classic 101 Dalmatians character Cruella de Vil. This is a review that, and on my channel, I like to do a little bit of non-spoiler reviews before I get into the spoiler section. So don't worry about me ruining the movie here if you've not seen the movie yet. About midway through this, I'll hit a spoiler warning. So if you've seen it, I'll get into more detail about the film. But for now, let's go over some non-spoiler stuff. I'm not going to lie, when this movie started, I wasn't quite feeling it to start the whole film here. It kind of started off a little slow for me. But as the movie went on, I found myself enjoying it more and more. And of course, you know, the way they tell this is essentially a backstory to Cruella de Vil. They may have, I know they did a couple films with Glenn Close, who played the character, 101 Dalmatians in 96, and I think 102 Dalmatians in maybe the year 2000, something along that line. And I never really checked those out. Obviously, I've seen the classic Disney animated film, and, you know, obviously that's considered a classic amongst Disney, you know, fans in general. So obviously with the trailers for this coming out, I was like, okay, it seems like a different interpretation. It's got this storyline that's more based on fashion and, you know, the competition between Cruella and another character, which is entitled the Baroness, played by, what was her name here? Oh, Emma Thompson. So two Emmas in this movie who were kind of basically feuding back and forth. And I thought in regards to the acting from Emma Thompson and Emma Stone were both top-notch. Both did an excellent job here when it comes to their respective characters. And both of them have this very, you know, especially since, I mean, there's a reason for the fact that they act a lot alike, which I won't get into until we get to the spoiler section here. But I felt like they both did a good job portraying this, you know, rude, you know, snide, you know, just evil human beings at times, because obviously these characters are, you know, dark at the core of themselves. And it was just interesting to see these two try to one-up each other as this movie goes on here. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, and the competition between the two fashion moguls, so to speak, especially in the Baroness's case. I thought they did a great job bringing that element into it, which kind of gave it a little bit more flair than what I was expecting from a Cruella de Vil prequel, so to speak, just kind of an origin story, so to speak. I also liked how they introduced, you know, Jasper and Horace, the classic henchmen, so to speak, of the Cruella into this film, and of course the interplay with some of the dogs that they had in the movie. I thought that was very well done. You could tell though there's a few times where the dogs were clearly CGI'd, but for the most part, I thought they did the comedy elements and the stuff pretty well. I also like the whole idea of, you know, Cruella, Jasper, and Horace, you know, starting out as a bit of a team that, you know, learned how to steal and rob and do these things, kind of like, you know, an Ocean's 11 type stuff where they would literally plan out their schemes and they would go, you know, and rob these, you know, high extravagant items, or sometimes just even pickpocket wallets and things like that, but they would do it in such a way where they never get caught. And I really thought that was a cool little element that they added to this. I don't recall Cruella and Horace and Jasper doing that sort of thing like the classic animated film or anything like that, so it was a nice little wrinkle they threw in here. But you know, and overall I can't say I can't say more when it comes to Emma Stone's acting here. I thought she did a great job with this role, especially when she's playing the dark, sadistic Cruella de Vil. I thought, you know, she just put on that level that, you know, some actresses can't pull off, especially in a role like this where you've got to play this, you know, almost sadistic, evil human being. Some people aren't allowed to do that because most people, you know, are trying to be good people. And I'm sure, you know, Emma Stone's a lovely actress and she's probably even a lovelier person. But it was just interesting to see her go to that level and take that, you know, this, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I'm going to do what I want to do, and what I want to do is so and so and so and so. So I really enjoyed watching her performance for sure here. She captivates the screen every second she is on it, and she's the one who makes this movie worth watching. The character in itself is good, but I think the actress is the one who sells this movie and delivers in spades here. And it sounds like, from the way this movie is, they're probably going to be setting up a sequel. I know Emma Stone has talked about wanting to do another Cruella film. I think she even mentioned putting it in the vein of The Godfather Part 2, kind of doing it in that kind of style. So we'll see where they go, and if it does get to another film, I was impressed with the film, like I said, as it went on. Just it felt like early on it just wasn't going to be my cup of tea, but the more the film, I kept giving it a chance, and I felt like it got better as it went on here. So I'm excited to maybe see where they take this, if they do get another one, especially the way it ended up, which I'll get into my spoiler review here. I'm intrigued by maybe how they would go about the sequel. So with that being said, I think it was a pretty good, solid film. If you're able to watch it on Disney Plus at home, that might be a good place to watch it. I don't know if this is something that I would go to see at the theater personally. It's not usually something I would spend money on at the theater, but I did check this out on Disney Plus, and the convenience of my own home, I thought it was a good little film to check out, especially on a longer weekend. So with that being said, I'd like to get into a little bit more spoiler review here. So I'm going to hit the spoiler warning here, and we're going to get into all the details about the film. So if you haven't seen it, check out now and come back once you've seen it. So the way this film starts out, basically, Cruella has a lot, or I'm sorry, Estella. Cruella is kind of Estella. It's her evil alter ego a little bit. Little backstory. In the movie, her mother, or at least who she thinks is her mother, is killed early on in this film, but she feels like it's her fault because they go to this, fashion gala that's being ran by what turns out to be the Baroness. And during this gala, Cruella has a little bit of a rude streak in her as a child. And so she gets in a bit of trouble at this party, which they, get some Dalmatian dogs, which is an interesting way to introduce maybe why she doesn't care a whole lot for Dalmatians in the animated film, but they took a little bit different of a spin on that in this. But she was chased around by these Dalmatian dogs, and these dogs ran outside where her mother was talking to the Baroness, and her mother gets knocked over this, the balcony and falls off this cliff and dies due to these dogs. So for the beginning of this film, Estella, played by Emma Stone, feels like that was her fault and she got her mother killed. So she's dealing with a lot of guilt and she's on her own. She has no family now. So she finds Jasper and Horace, and of course they take her in as some reject kids themselves who, pickpocket for a living, and they grew up together, living together, which was an interesting little bit of a wrinkle here, showing their relationship and all that stuff that we really didn't get into in some of the other films that they've done. So I really like that wrinkle. That was really cool. And of course, as the show progresses here, she's very good at designing fashion wardrobes and things like that. So she ends up getting a job with the Baroness, who is the biggest fashion mogul there is for the most part. And, of course, she's very rude, very Cruella de Vil-esque, as what you would think Cruella de Vil to be. That's what the Baroness is. And Estella kind of learns a little bit from her, but at the same time, she wants to take her place because it comes to find out during the middle of this film that the woman that her mother was talking to when the dogs attacked and didn't accidentally knock her over the cliff like she thought. They were sicked upon her because the Baroness was the one she was talking to, and the Baroness, because whatever was going down with her mother, she had one of those whistles that only dogs could hear, and the Baroness blew on that, and it called the Dalmatians out to them, and Estella thought it was because they were chasing her, but no, they were chasing this whistle, and they came out and attacked her and knocked her mother, which was actually her adopted mother, you find out by the end of this film. So there's a couple different reveals. You start out with Estella thinking that, she got her mother killed, and then midway through you find out, oh, no, it was the dogs that got her killed because of the whistle. Then you find out, oh, Estella's real mother is the Baroness. The Baroness is so self-centered and so egotistical in her character, and all she cares about is her fame, her fashion, being the top of the line and the best in the world. And when she finds out that her and her husband got pregnant, of course she despises the husband, and then of course she doesn't want anything to do with this baby, so she gives the baby to one of her handlers played by Mark Strong, and she wants Mark Strong to take care of it, which implies kill it. But of course Mark Strong can't do that because he's a good guy, and he gives Estella to her adopted mother, which was one of the aides or maids of the Baroness's, big mansion or whatever it is. So this maid raises Estella, and so Estella thinks this is her mother. But midway through the film, she finds out her mother is actually the Baroness. So there's a couple big reveals in the movie as it goes on. So it's a lot of emotional drama that Emma Stone has to portray here, dealing with all this trauma and the news that she has to deal with. And at times, she even gets to a point where she gets so sadistic, just like the Baroness was, and she starts treating Jasper and Horace horribly and things like that. And of course, later they confront her about it. So it's a good scene where they finally work out their issues as well. So it's just good to see Emma Stone with this acting range. And like I said, I can't praise this performance enough from her. She's the biggest part of this film that sells it. But yeah, it's just an interesting dynamic to see, her then try to scheme against the Baroness as she's working for her. So she gets to study her inner workings, hit her where it hurts her the most. And of course, the Baroness figures all this out and tries to kill Estella, or her alter ego Cruella, which is the one she's trying to compete with the Baroness with, so she doesn't expose her true identity of Estella. But the Baroness works all this out in her mind, and then she tries to kill Cruella before she's able to end her fashion reign, so to speak. And she tries to burn her up in their at Jasper and Horses in their house, and of course Jasper and Horse are taken to jail, and Cruella survives. And of course, she breaks them out of jail. And then they begin to, scheme to get Baroness back because Baroness believes she's dead. And by the end of the film, obviously she gets her, for sure. And it's just very well done. The interweaving and the deception and the things like that, I really enjoyed. The fashion part of it, I didn't really care a whole lot about because obviously I'm not the biggest fashion guy in the world. But at the same time, just the way they told it with the interweaving of the planning and the scheming going on between the two, Baroness and Cruella, I thought that was very well done here. And of course, the ending here saw Cruella finally confronting the Baroness in the exact same location where her mother was pushed over the edge, or her adopted mother was pushed over the edge by the dogs being controlled by the Baroness. And of course, the Baroness tries to talk like, she knows she's her mother, and, she wants to be close to her. So, it appears that Cruella kind of has this moment of, I would love for that. And, you could give me a hug. And when she gives her a hug, the Baroness actually does push Cruella over the cliff the same way her mother died. And of course, you're led to believe Cruella is dead, but then you find out Cruella actually planned this because she never trusted the Baroness enough to let her do this. So Cruella had like a parachute on and she survived. And then she comes back and basically, gets the Baroness thrown in jail for attempted murder here, and all that. So I thought it was very well done. And of course, being that that Cruella is the Baroness's living child, she is the heir to her throne, so to speak. So she has now taken the Baroness's mansion and everything that was under her name and her fortune and all that good stuff. So it was a good way to set up Cruella as this fashion giant in this whole thing. And obviously she acquires the place she was living, which was called Hellman Hall. She knocked the man off of it, and it's just called Hell Hall now. So she has all that. She has a new place for her Jasper and Horace, her adopted dogs, so to speak. And of course, she ends up getting this car midway through the movie, which is just like the classic Roadster or whatever that Cruella had in the animated movie. And of course, Phoenix called a Panther DeVille. She takes the name DeVille, but knocks the E off and makes it look like the devil, or DeVille, devil. And of course, Cruella DeVille. So it's a nice little origin story here for sure. And one of the things, like I said, if it gets a sequel, I think one of the things that's going to be really cool about it is they had a little bit of a post-credit scene here, which earlier on in the movie, a person named Roger was working for the Baroness and he got fired. And of course, Roger, if you know the animated classic, is the one who has Pongo. And Anita, which is a photographer that's in this film, who is taking pictures for Cruella and things like that, she adopts Perdita, which is the puppies that Cruella's Dalmatians have. She took the Dalmatians in that killed her mother, so to speak here, or I guess they may be different Dalmatians, but the same ones that the Baroness had, and they obviously were pregnant by the end of the film, and so she gives a couple of the young pups to Roger and Anita, and of course, if you know the original classic, it's Pongo and Perdita who end up having the 101 Dalmatians, and of course, that leads to the entire animated series. So I don't know if the sequel to Cruella starring Emma Stone will be a direct live action reincarnation, because obviously Disney loves to do the live action reincarnations of their classic films. So that very well could be coming, or we could get something completely different, like Emma Stone wants to do, kind of a Godfather Part 2 type thing, where you tell the story, I think, a little bit in flashbacks, a little bit, kind of like a prequel and a sequel to this current film. So we'll see what they do with it. But I did kind of like to see the little bit of a tease, like, hey, Roger now has Pongo, Anita now has Perdita, and of course they get married and all this stuff, and then they're pups have, or puppies themselves. So it was a really nice little clever way of bridging this story with the original 1960s sub movie or whatever it was. So I really liked that little bit of an aspect that they told with it here. So overall, I thought it was a fun little film. Again, I don't know if I necessarily need a sequel personally, so if it doesn't happen, that's okay. But for the most part, I thought it was entertaining. And again, it's just the performance from Emma Stone that really sells the whole thing. But the real question here is, guys, what did you guys think about Cruella starring Emma Stone from Disney and currently playing on Disney Plus on Premier Access? Comment down below. Let me know. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when I put up new content here on my channel. And until my next video, guys. Take care.
Target.